Hey y'all, I'm Leah.
And I'm Rachel.
We're two wives and a spark. As new parents and as an interracial couple, we're on a mission to connect with others and explore how race and politics influence so much for families like ours.
Yes, we believe intentional conversations are vehicles for change. So we're committed to learning in public and having real talk every step of the way.
And you know what? Maybe, just maybe one conversation at a time, we can make the world a better place.
I think so. So let's jump in, y'all. We're back.
Welcome back, y'all. We're excited to be back here with you for another episode.
Yeah, it's nice to every so often just have a little touch point where we get to connect.
Yeah.
Every couple of interviews. So just like last time, we did 2 interviews and then we had a check-in and then we did 2 interviews and now we're checking back
in. For the check-in.
Woo-hoo.
What we're checking in about.
Yeah, I think what we said, the themes we would talk about are kind of the 3 things were just a quick what's up with us, what's the latest, it's been a minute.
The latest and the greatest.
Reflections on the most 2 recent interviews.
The unexpected themes that came up or came to the forefront.
Yeah.
And then just 3, getting back to our why, reconnecting back to why we're doing this season, what's going on, and what we're surrounded by.
Yeah. So let's jump in.
Let's do it.
What's been up with us, my love?
Well, yeah, I'm in really good spirits because I've been off from grad school for a week. So I've only had one big bucket to focus on, and that's been family, which has been nice. We just celebrated our 3rd year of marriage.
3 years. Yeah, that was a special celebration.
It was. Sure. I mean, it was special because we had all of our, special folks with us. And it was special because it was literally right before the shutdown happened. So
you're talking about the wedding, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the celebration that we just had.
Yeah.
Also true. Yeah. Both are true.
Yes. It's a big marker for everybody in our life. They're like, oh, your wedding was the day before the world shut down.
Yeah.
So it's always a very interesting reflection on, like, the early chapter of our marriage was so much about navigating the pandemic.
Yeah. Checking on people that came to the wedding, make sure everyone was still good.
Yeah.
Those were the last hugs we got, for years. But in terms of the current celebration that we just had, that was a good one. We had a delicious dinner.
Yeah. Childcare.
Yeah.
Such a blessing. Support system. Shout out to Gammy.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty big milestone. 3 years. Good things come in 3s, family of 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think just to take a minute to think about, when I think about our anniversary dinner, what came up for me in that evening and just like a reflection that I had was how precious space and time are, and how, every time we do get a date night, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been like 3 months, 4 months. Like, what do we do? It's just, I think it's always a reminder of just, as a parent, it's not as easy to be as deliberate about making space and time as I thought it would be, that came up for me at our anniversary when I was thinking about just like, okay, when you love your child so much, it can be easy to just kind of live minute to minute, day to day. And then you get a month or 2 later and you're like, man, we haven't had time.
Last time we sat down. Yeah. I think, I'm sure folks who are recent parents or have been parents for a while could contest to this, but you really don't necessarily know how much time you actually have before having a kid. Because it's the in-between time.
Yeah.
Right. It's the transition time. Like all those minutes that overall in a day do add up to 2 hours of transition time, you don't really have anymore. If you're not transitioning, doing something for yourself, like, oh, she's waking up from a nap, or like it's snack time or whatever, so it's like
always something.
Everything, every minute is consumed with something. And to your point, I think we both are actively participating in her minute to minute life. So I think it's a little bit just our personalities too that require and allow us to kind of be busy in the minute to minute because we're watching everything she does. Because we know we won't get this time back. So it is with that, then when we do have moments where it's just the 2 of us, they are very impactful, right? Even if they're far and few between. Because, time is a different type of gift these days.
Yeah. It's like time is such an interesting construct too, because when you're, it's not to say we don't have time. it's a trippy thing. I think that maybe parents will understand, especially in the first year or two of life, is that you know she might be napping, but you're always on your toes. You're like, she could wake up at any minute. I mean, she's teething, so sleep has been up and down, and like you just don't know exactly what's going to come around the corner. Right when you think you figured out a rhythm, things change. And so what we're talking about is that uninterrupted time where like someone's watching her and we're in a physical space that's different,
your brain is totally doing something else.
It's different, it's different when you're in the same space, even when she's completely in her own element, whether she's sleeping or doing independent play, like you're still 100% on, which is something that I don't think we anticipated. Right?
No. I mean, we just went back and listened to our core values episode
from season two,
and there was so much unknown we placed in that episode. Like there were things we knew about ourselves, who we were as individuals and how we wanted to show up as parents. But then there was this unknown around like, okay, well, what's this kid going to be like? And how are we going to show up once we have a kid? And it was just interesting to listen to the versions of us that did not know what we know now. In terms of our core values. And so when I think about our anniversary and celebrations, like we were just talking recently, from January through April, there's just like either birthdays or holidays or something. So I guess you can go back to November if you really want to.
Really?
If you really want to.
6 straight months.
Yeah. So it's a lot of time of deep reflection and just checking in with ourselves and celebrating the newness of the different dates that are coming up. But I think going back to listen to that episode with our core values really allows us to, when we're in these moments of celebration, like celebrating 3 years of being married, it does give us a chance to reflect, like, how have we been doing with the things that we said were important to us, that we are living by, but we aren't necessarily having as much time to like, I'm showing up with integrity when I do this, or, I'm caring, that's when I'm doing this, or I'm being honest, or I'm being respectful. So
we're not using that language, but I think there are moments where we've had some harder conversations where it's like, I'm not, I think every couple knows that like energetic moment where you feel a little bit out of sync. And we've had some of those conversations recently about like, what's off, and sometimes I wouldn't say it's about the core values not being upheld, but it's like the check-in, the lack of the check-in is what creates some of that stuff. And I thought maybe that we would be a little bit more deliberate or intentional about like having conversations about this, that, and the other on our weekly walks or whatever. But it just, I think what we've learned, and I'm thankful for our conversation on our anniversary, because we did get to talk about like, unless you really carve time and space out and you're really deliberate, little things add up. And it's like the turkey in the oven. You forget to take that time
to check on it. To, make sure it's, browning the way you want and all the things, right? If we're talking about the turkey. So when we do have those moments, I think we never are going into it with like, okay, this is what we want to talk about. I think just having the space to be kind of a one-track mind allows these like organic things to naturally come up. And I thought our conversation at our anniversary dinner was really rich and eye-opening for both of us to understand, like, this is what I'm holding and this is what you're holding, and this is how I'm trying to show empathy for what you're holding, and this is how I'm trying to show up for myself and what I'm holding. I just thought that was a really powerful and real moment, right? Like an emotional one, to be honest.
It was beautiful, but I'm thankful, I'm thankful that we actually had that space. Like neither of us walked into it thinking like, let's pour our hearts out on the table. But literally the power of space. I think we even talked about this in season 2 or maybe 1. I can't remember. Just like the space. Once you have physical space, emotional space, then the container, I think the core values, like our deep commitment to those unconsciously, help us show up and be all in. When we have the opportunity. So I am really thankful for just the commitment that you continue to show me and to bring to our relationship, to really learn and listen and uphold those values.
I agree. I thank you for acknowledging that. But I told you this on my anniversary, like you're holding so much to make sure our family can enjoy what we're enjoying, right? And so just your ability to respect the vision and your integrity to be honest about what you need to keep upholding those things has been eye-opening and beautiful for me. And we talk a lot about like both having tickers that are very different. Ticker is just like your ongoing, never-ending list.
The list of things you're thinking about that you don't necessarily think other people know you're thinking about.
Yeah. So I think you hold a lot of different things on your ticker list. But it's been really nice to have some space to be able to kind of hear what you're holding and like to know that. So then, you know, what I shared with you on our anniversary, which I'll share with the audience, is just, it is a powerful thing to be able to ask, like, how can I be a better wife, you know, and to like really want to hear that and learn that. And there's an opportunity there to know, like, I'm new at this, so I can get better at it. Yeah. It was important for me to hear your thoughts.
And it was a gift, you know, I remember when you asked me at the table, I thought, what do you mean? You're doing great. Like, what? You know, but then once I really slowed down to think about for both of us, like, how can we both do better? How can we, what a gift to have that question, because it really turned the conversation and I think helped us unearth and open up around some stuff that I think was really helpful.
Yeah. I think the more we have time to do that and space to do that, we get to show it to Ember, which is, you know, one of the greatest gifts is like her watching us like hug or the way we say good morning to each other. And she's really watching everything. Everything. She's watching it all up. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's a gift to be able to notice that she's noticing us and then to be able to have time and space with each other to improve in areas that we want to improve in.
Yeah.
For us and for her.
That's right.
Because girlfriend is talking.
Yes. Amber Jean, she's about to be 14 months.
She's about to be 14 months. Yeah.
Can you believe that?
I cannot.
Oh, she is a powerful being. I think that's the other thing that's up with us is just how much she's moving, talking, communicating, sharing. It is.
She's a silly one too. She's got a funny sense of humor. Yeah, she loves to play. She loves to just lots of joy, you know, and she's super curious about the world around her. Right now, we're really in the because I equally am as into it, and as is Rachel. We are really all into the farm animals right now.
Yeah, we are.
That Ember has allowed our inner child and just adults selves to enjoy.
That's right.
With her, we have donkeys that live across the street from our house. Like they're really always right there when we walk out.
We have become a family.
And Rachel, I was watching Rachel feed the donkeys yesterday, and I was like, you have your own little special bond with them outside of Ember's bond with them, outside of my bond with them, and even Ella.
It's true.
Like she doesn't even bark at them.
This goes back to like how much Ember soaks up, right? Because when we first went over, I think she sensed a little bit of our fear. Like I was a little bit more hesitant to put my hand all the way on the other side of the gate and like let them really kiss my hand, you know, like because they'll tickle your hand with their little funny little they're hilarious. And so at first I could tell Ember went in with this open mind and open spirit ready to feed them, and then I think she sensed our trepidation, and it was so subtle, like we weren't even super nervous or anything, but I think there was like a little hesitation when we stepped back because the donkeys were kind of arguing with each other. They were having a little moment, so that frightened us just a little bit because one of them kicked the other and all that stuff. So anyway, what I realized in that moment was how much that was contagious for Ember. And then after that moment, she showed a little bit more fear as we approached them. So then I unconsciously was like, okay, I need to go overboard with like being extra. I need to build a relationship with these animals so she can see what that looks like. And it's been fun. I unintentionally have now developed my own little bond with these donkeys.
That's a fun. I hadn't thought about. I agree with you that it's the little moments that she really definitely picks up on, and I hadn't necessarily thought about like our energy impacting the way she shows up with the donkeys. But I do think it is fair to acknowledge, like, if we have hesitation, then she's like, well, if you're hesitating, I'm hesitating, right? It's like when Black people see Black people running. I don't need to ask no question. You running, I'm running. I'll ask you when we stop. Like intuition is strong. And I think she picks up on that that's a good a solid point.
It's a metaphor for like all the ways she's taking in everything, for sure. Like it's a literal experience, but also very metaphorical for how much she is, oh man, just developing and taking in everything around her.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's incredible.
Awesome. It's also, we've had a lot of, just in terms of like other updates in this past month or so, we've had a lot of like wake up calls on the health front with her. She's developed some allergies, which was really scary. We had to go to the ER one day. And I think we've just been like in the thick of things, of learning, steep learning curve.
She turned 1 and was like, and now let's get this party started. We talked about this, but it was humbling for us because you can think you're ready for things. We were not ready.
For emergencies.
Like, we weren't ready for an emergency. Yeah. And I think we both were shocked because we're usually like
super ready,
you know? And so it's just always a good reminder that you're never, like parenthood, you're just never overly ready, right? You accept the moments as they come and you push through and you get ready. And you learn, and then you'll be a little bit more ready next time, but you're still never like, 100% got this, you know, every time. There might be moments when you're like, 100%. Like when we have our bag ready and she's in the car seat and we're on time somewhere, we are like
so proud,
high-fiving each other.
So proud.
And we also recognize it's not gonna happen every time, right?
That's also true.
I think with the ER emergency, like that emergency room visit, it really helped us just get ready, better prepared for next time, you know, if there is a next time.
Right. And just, I think also remembering you can have the perfect plan and you can be all prepared, but there is something that happens in your brain when you are in like emergency mode, survival mode. You forget all the logical, you know, thoughtful things. You're just like, and so the more practice, in the moment, we were so scared, and it is really intense. I think only parents listening can understand that moment when you see your child having an emergency, like a very severe health experience that you almost lose access to all the things that you thought you knew how to do. So it's a reminder of like just giving ourselves some grace, but also being a little bit more in the moment.
Yeah. And to learn, we learned a lot about her that day, you know, in terms of her resiliency and her ability to communicate. Her ability to communicate, I think, is one of her strongest gifts. It's really cool to watch across different parts of her day and different incidents and all that. Non-verbally and verbally. So I think that's just a huge gift that we've been receiving from her. And on that note, I think, you know, as an audience, if there's things that you're processing or dealing with, or you've had a moment of like, we had to go to the ER and we were having kind of scatterbrain too, like share it with us. We always love when people message us or text us with a voice note or a video of something that they took from this time. Because, you know, like we started this episode off saying like, time is a precious thing and we don't always have necessarily this space to just focus on one thing. We're usually like trying to juggle a lot. So when people respond and let us know like, oh man, I was really feeling this, or when you said this, it made me think of this, and they tell us stories, it keeps us in the game. It's very motivating. It's very eye-opening, and we love to hear from y'all. So share with us what you got going on, what's new with you. We'd love to hear from you all, and you can send that in any other ways that you know how to get in contact with us.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you. And also, I think I'll just put back out Leah's food for thought from our anniversary. Like if there's a moment when whether you're in partnership with someone or a family member, like this idea of, I'd love to hear what you all think about this idea of being deliberate and asking the people you love, like, how can I show up better? How can I be a better sister? How can I be a better daughter? How can I be a better wife? How can I be a better partner, friend? I think that question just really, it opened up so much. So I'd love to hear what you all think about just this idea of asking that question and what could open up when you take a minute and think about sharing that with someone else. So yeah.
And there's no shame in it. I think when I asked you, I was very like genuinely excited to hear like, ooh, what can I do more of this year and our next year of marriage, you know? Because I think sometimes we get in these new identities and then we think we have to just be perfect in them immediately. And you know, I will be honest, I think grad school and parenting is really teaching me like, I am way better now as a grad student than I was as an undergrad. I'll just name that. But I'm also way better now as a parent than I was month one.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But like we give ourselves more grace in certain identities than we do with others. And
that's
so
true.
Just being mindful of like, if you're being a new friend to someone for the first, like there's always going to be ways we can be better as friends. I mean, even sisterhood, right? Like my sister and I have been sisters for however long we've been alive. And there's still ways that we're improving and trying to get better, and not being afraid or ashamed to ask that question, because there's so much richness in hearing from the other person. Ways in which you are already showing up. And so even if that's the answer, right? Well, here are the things you're doing that I just love. Like, it's nice to hear, okay, I'm doing that right. Let me just keep that at the forefront and remember to keep doing that.
Yeah, you don't have to wait. Like, I guess my takeaway is like, we didn't need to wait for an anniversary to ask that question. Like that could be something that we actually do a little bit more consistently, or just try it in other aspects of our life. Cause I think it does. It really opened up some new pathways for like learning and connection and openness and vulnerability. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Love you. I love you too. So what else are we going to check in with y'all about?
Well, I think we've had some amazing interviews.
Yes.
Before this episode, so I think just reflecting on our interview with Melissa and Kim and with Kara. And just kind of sharing back out the lessons learned from those spaces and talking to those amazing humans.
Those were really, really powerful conversations.
They were, actually. This season in general, I think has been rewarding for my extrovert brain to meet folks that we've only known via social media. Has been really, really powerful, actually, because you get to learn different sides of what you visually see, but then get to hear stories behind what you visually see, which is pretty remarkable. So that's been giving me a lot of hope, especially as we're in this political climate here in Texas, where there's a lot of noise and policies that are trying to get put into law that are disheartening. So it's been giving a lot of hope to just hear from other families, especially other families in red states.
That was unexpected.
That was super unexpected. That's been really eye-opening.
Super eye-opening. And I think it's just in moments of chaos and turmoil and volatility and negativity and all the things like that, if you're paying attention to the news and keeping up with all the hatred that's coming toward the LGBTQ plus community, I think you can lose that hope, right? But I think to your point, like being connected, you can also feel so alone, like are other people out there grappling with the same things we are. And that was literally why we started season 3 with this, is because we just knew in our guts, we can't be the only ones feeling this. And it's just been so affirming and life-giving to have these connection points and these like real bonds and sparks of like, yes, we're not alone. Or like, man, not only are we not alone, but we really share that like deep thing that we thought we were the only ones experiencing,
Or that question, you're asking that question, we're totally talking about that. Like there's this like little kid of joy that pops out of me when we're interviewing someone and they're like talking about the question that they were asking each other, or the thought they were having when they were, moving to a neighborhood. And like, oh my God, I had that same thought, like it's, there's power in affinity.
Yes.
And I think in these last 2 interviews, especially, there's been a lot of moments of affinity and just like the mirror being held up. So we can see ourselves and they can see themselves. And that's been a true honor. I truly loved in the Melissa and Kim episode when Melissa shared like exactly what we did when we moved to this neighborhood, like walking around, going at different times. It takes extra effort to think about like, I'm about to raise my family here, as an interracial couple and, eventually raising a biracial daughter, like all those things. It did take more effort, but like, I remember us feeling so thankful when we found this neighborhood and saw the signs we saw. And so just to hear another couple have that same moment was, it was a special moment for
and then to hear Kara's experience as a mom raising a biracial child, hearing all the nuggets of just like insight and questions that she's grappling with, because Mila, her daughter, is 10 years ahead of Amber. So like, oh man, to think about being a mom in this political moment to a child that age was super insightful to hear, and it just really brought a lot of emotion up for me thinking about what she's going through, you know.
But and then I think as people have shared their stories, to then be creating this like larger village, right, of, you know, as a Black woman, I'm like, I can completely relate to where Mila's at right now in life as a 10-year-old, and that's, I understand that moment. Like I can put myself exactly back in that body and remember what I was thinking about and processing and all those things. So like, if in any way I could show up as a mentor for her, like, heck yeah, you know, and like thinking, oh yeah, and then she could do the same for Ember. Like all these cool things are coming out of that space for
community.
Sure. Yeah,
it's become a community. It's been really, really magical. And I will say, I feel like, you know, we have learned a lot in season 3 about just logistically what it requires to interview other families and partners that are also very, very busy. If this was our only job, we would be rocking this.
Oh, I mean, there's definitely an audience for it. You know, like I think if we had the capacity to go all day, like every week,
we would talk to. I mean, we wish we had more time to talk with so many more families and couples and all the things. And it's not to say like there are any regrets. It's just, this is our moment. Our current moment this is what we can wonderful passion project. We have a couple hours extra a week to dedicate to this, and it's something we care deeply about. You know, what I've learned is with the limited amount of time that we do have, 2 things are true. And this is maybe a theme for this whole episode. Like, it takes work. It takes so much work to create the space, but not creating the space is detrimental, right? So like, I would never, I have no regrets. I'm so thankful that we've gone the extra mile to like do the things and make the time and find the childcare and piece together the little, you know, like it has been a big Tetris puzzle to make this season come together. But I think every second has been worth it, you know, and it was unexpectedly a lot more logistically challenging, you know, but I don't know, I guess that's the thing, right? Like in our first part of this episode, talking about like logistically, it's so hard to get date nights. It's so hard to find the space. It takes so much work. Like you could easily not do it, and then you would miss out on all the magic that happened on our anniversary dinner, all the magic that's happened in these conversations. Like you can easily bypass the step that it takes to like be vulnerable, reach out to people, ask people, work with schedules, go back and forth 20 times. Be like, okay, Tuesday night, nope, Thursday one, oh, Jane, you know, like it was all worth it though. And I think that effort pays off, but it's just not lost for me, like how much intentionality is required, and how much like just taking a leap of faith is also required. It's a little bit of both, right?
Yeah, we talk about this a lot in the work that we do, right? Where it's like you have to get started anyway. Like white supremacy will make you believe like if you don't have it all figured out, mapped out perfectly, don't do it, right? And you do have to get started anyway. And I think in both of those examples, even when I think about like, okay, when we're not able to sit down at a fancy dinner and have space to just think, we're still trying to have like little carved out chocolate dates at night, you know, be like, I got this delicious new chocolate bar, let's try it, you know. And those little moments allow us to get started to get started anyway, right? And I think even in this season, there are things, I think the 2 years ago versions of us that did not have a child would have done this season very differently, right? But we had different time, our capacity looked different, all the things, right? And so I think the get started anyway, when you don't fully have everything polished, is necessary. And I think this season is a good reminder, when these interviews too have been a great reminder that when you're in alignment and when your values are strong and you get started anyway, you still can create something magical. Right.
And you're really clear about what you want and need.
Right.
It doesn't have to be some perfect polished plan, to your point, but we're really clear, like finding the connection points with other couples right now is so much more important than some perfect spreadsheet with all the hours and blocks of time. Like, it's just, we knew so clearly this is needed. And so we're willing to do whatever it takes, even if it's imperfect and unpolished. Like, we're going to make this happen and we're going to learn from it. And we'll bring all those lessons into season 4. But I think it's taught us the power of that, like just taking the leap of faith, jumping and trusting that it's all going to fall together, because we're so clear, to your point. Like, we're in alignment on the why, we're in alignment on just being clear about the need for this conversation. And it's been so rewarding.
Yeah, it really has. And I think it's a good reminder too, when we're thinking about the effort that we have to put in to show up and advocate and fight against, you know, the hatred and the bills that are coming out, not just in our state, but even hearing from folks that we've interviewed, right? And what our different legislators are doing. And it's a lot, right? It's a lot when the things that are being debated and argued about are your actual life.
Yes.
Right. And so how do you show up and stay in that fight when it's like, you're literally talking about me as a human?
Yeah.
And that's hard, right? But I think you show up anyway. In whatever parts of you that can, and in whatever ways that you can. And showing up is very different for all of us in different ways.
But knowing that you're not alone, to me, these conversations have gotten me more fired up to get more involved, because you're hearing stories, right? And so I think as we close out, like, for us, we can share what's true for us in Texas, but we invite everybody listening to do some learn, connect with your folks in your state and let us know what's going on in your state, right? Because we mentioned this in our last, probably episode 21 at this point. I can't remember, but I think it was 3 episodes ago, like what was going on in Texas and what we're paying attention to. Do you want to share more about what's happened since then?
Yeah. So, I mean, a shout out to Equality Texas, which is an organization that we're following a lot. And I just praises to them. Like, the more I'm learning about this system, the more I'm learning about the legislator, like, to be able to track bills is a skill.
It takes
to track it, and then to get information out to people, and then to name what's bad about it or good about it. Like, all of those things require so much people power. And so just huge shout out to Equality Texas.
To make it accessible and digestible, all the things.
I have mad respect for them and all the work they're doing over there. So the bills that were filed here in Texas, I think the deadline was March 10th to be able to file a bill. So now that deadline has passed, anything that was filed by that deadline is now kind of the water we're swimming in. The things that we're discussing, the things we're keeping our ears open for. And so
up for debate.
The final count in terms of how many LGBTQ plus related bills have been filed, there's 2 categories that Equality Texas kind of put this into. So one category is like bills that are bad, right? Basically bills that are arguing against our humanity. And there are 139 of those bills that have been filed that are bad. And there are 142 bills that have been filed that are good. So, like, things that show us we exist and we deserve to exist and we deserve to have these rights. And we deserve to be safe in this state, right? So
that's huge.
That's a huge deal in general, right? We're talking about 282 bills, right? So that's a huge deal in general. That's a lot of language, and some bills have way more meat, and some bills are just like, we just put a tag on this and put it out. We don't really have anything written in it. But when you think about the numbers, right? 139 bad and 142 good, weighing like that scale, to be able to have more bills out there that are good for us in our community is also a big deal.
It's huge. This might be unprecedented. Equality Texas and other organizations that are so dedicated to changing the narrative and supporting and fighting for our community. Like, they single-handedly, folks on the front lines have made this happen, because it was not looking like this a month ago. There have been so many people fighting to make sure to lift up the importance of protecting and preserving and upholding the rights for our community, which is huge, huge, huge.
And another reason why I would want to shout out Equality Texas is one of the things that they're doing right now is really helping. I think they do a great job of breaking it into tiers in terms of ways that you can advocate, right? So the issue that I strongly have against our system right now is that having access to be able to show up to these committee hearings especially if you're a working person, or if you are managing a schedule where you've got kids and different responsibilities. It is very hard to take time off to be like, okay, I'm gonna show up at 8 a.m. and the committee hearing will start, but it might pause because they have to go to the floor or whatever, right? And so like by design, it's not necessarily designed for marginalized communities to always be able to just show up and give their time in that way.
Yeah.
And so Equality Texas, I think, does a great job of sharing with all of us other ways in which we can make sure our voices are heard, that I think is tremendous. So just please follow the work that they're doing and tap in where you can, because not everyone can go to committee meetings. Not everyone can show up and say, I'm against this. Not everyone has the ability to call or to email or feels confident enough in doing that to their state legislators, or trust that process. And so just know that there are more ways to be able to show your support for things and show your support against things, or show that you're against something.
And sometimes that means literally for us, like we're using what our sphere of influence is and our capacity right now. Like this podcast, this is one way where we're trying to spotlight some of this information. And sometimes it's as simple as talking at your dinner table or at your lunch table at work, or reposting something in your stories about like, hey, for those who are here, this is how you can get involved. There's a lot of other information out there, and we'll link some of this and we'll start putting stuff in our stories, just because we are getting close to the time of it's every minute, every voice really matters as these bills are being heard and going to committee. It's as powerful and profound as like your voice. You just never know the impact, even though you might not have the capacity to go to the Capitol and speak up on behalf of our community. Someone in your neighborhood might be able to, like you just never know. And so the 139 bad bills versus 142 good bills, they will progress in proportion to the number of voices that show up in support of them. And we know for sure that there is a lot of hatred out there, and there are a lot of folks organizing against us. And so it's just so important for us to work together to say, I support this bill. I'm going to show up for all the good bills, right?
Yeah, and even if a good bill hasn't made it to committee yet, and a bad bill is being heard, if you have the capacity to show up to that committee and say like, y'all are hearing this bad bill, but actually there's this good bill that also y'all should be hearing, right? Like, yes, it has to go through calendaring and there's a whole system and all that, but just the more that the folks who are our representatives know, because we have to remember, like, they're novices in a lot of areas, right? So they're on these committees, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have expertise in these committees. So the more they're hearing from us as constituents, the more knowledge they then have. And so they may not even know that 142 good bills exist, right?
Right.
All depends on their team and what information they're receiving. And so I think just using our voices to make sure that even that number is out there, right? That we even are aware of, like, that there are good bills that are advocating for our rights, like what's in them and what do they say? And so anyway, there's so much more we could all be doing, but I know that we're all doing the best we can with the time and the resources we have. And so let's get started anyway.
Taking those small steps, like whatever is able, whatever you're able to do, whatever we're able to do. I think this is the moment to just take that small step and invite other folks to do the same. And I think it's going to be a big season. Like these next 6 months are going to be really, really formative. So let's just keep leaning on each other. And I know we're really zooming in on Texas for this because that's where we live, but we would really love to hear from you all. We're kind of living this insular life, really paying attention to the weeds on the ground for us. But what other organizations have you found to be really helpful in your state? What other resources have you found to be helpful? We'll share some in the show notes below this episode, but please, please, please share, because we can recirculate the information you share. And if we just continue to share with each other, you just never know the impact and who it might land and the right moment for the opportunity to get involved. So
yeah. We appreciate y'all. We thank you for listening and for being on this journey with us, and for learning with us. This season is coming in hot.
Full of learning.
And it's closing out soon. So we'll continue to, show up with you all for the remainder of the season. And just know that if there's more you want to hear or learn about, hit us up.
Thank you all so much for being in this fight with us and being at the table with us. this community has really been so inspiring and important to us. So thank you for rolling with us. Thank you for sharing what this content and this work is meaning for you. We really, all your comments, connections, messages, they mean so much to us. So we look forward to our next episode. And until then,
until the next episode.
No, I was going to say we're sending you love and light. She just took us all the way back.
If that didn't pop in your head, if that popped in your head, holla, let us know. All right.
We appreciate y'all.
We really are sending y'all love and light.
Yes, we are. Take good care, y'all. Bye. Thanks for joining us today, y'all. We'd love to stay connected on Instagram and Facebook, so you can find us at 2 Wives and a Spark, all spelled out.
If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with a friend so we can keep the sparks of connection going. If you want access to our episodes as soon as they drop, click that subscribe button. Every rating and review helps others find us, so thank you in advance for letting us know what you think. I'm Leah.
And I'm Rachel.
Thank you for listening to 2 Wives and a Spark.